It is 4:37 p.m. I call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Fitchburg Cultural Council Public Relations Subcommittee meeting. First order of business on the agenda, input survey, PR, and event results. Eileen, do you mind sharing with Claudia? I didn't want to make FAQ print out too many of them. This is just our input survey results that related to PR type things.
We sent out a press release on that. Did anybody see if that made the paper? Did you see it? I know you watched the paper. It was on the response to the input meeting. Let me see. I didn't see it, so maybe it didn't.
Should we check in on them?
Well, I think that's worth discussing. Open Studio celebrates local artists. That's good. That's great. I didn't see that.
That was before Open Studios happened, right? Or is it after?
It was before Open Studios happened.
Yes.
And oh, that's great. What date was that?
September 22nd.
Okay. Well, I'm happy about that. I get the paper now because I really want to see what it says about us.
Yeah.
But
I've been trying to snatch it whenever I can.
Good.
Claudia, do you think that when you see us in the paper, can you take a picture of it and send it to me so I can post it?
Sure.
Thanks.
Here's another one. This is September 8th. Arts and Culture Wanted.
Oh,
is that about grant season?
This is just an extension of.
yeah. Oh, that's the input then. Crowd also seemed to agree that Fitchburg needs an annual signature event. So that is the
Okay.
that is the piece on the input survey.
There we
Great.
go.
For the input meeting.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's great.
Okay. So should I just go through each item on here? All right, so usefulness of venues of public outreach. We asked about Facebook events from local groups, massculture.org /Fitchburg, where I had our community calendar. Unfortunately, with the changeover of the system, I cannot get our calendar on there. So the only way that they can find it is from our City Hall webpage. And then there's also the Community of Fitchburg Facebook page, which Joe and Sam run, and fitchburgmass.org. I think that is our City Hall page, and the Community Bulletin Board on Mill Street, Maine. It seems like a lot of people use our calendar, Community of Fitchburg. And
I thought the newspapers were a big part of that, or at least one of the top threes. Yeah, here we go. Local papers.
Oh, I think the first question was, do you know about this?
Oh, yeah. Okay. How do you know about it? Most people just knew about it. They're part of the mass culture organization.
Yeah. And then the second one was, where do you hear about cultural events?
Yeah.
And so word of mouth and Facebook was like well and above. Newspaper being second, about in the middle, and then the city website and Instagram.
Yeah, it's as you expected, but I'm glad to hear that the newspapers are a source,
Mhm.
Well-
of what we're doing.
I'm going to just keep collecting them and at one point make a scrapbook.
That'd
I'm
be
gonna-
great.
I will keep the originals like this, but I will also just cut out anything else that isn't part of it
Mhm.
and make a scrapbook.
That'd be great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the paper. I always hear people be like, oh, I saw you in the paper. Like,
Yes.
oh, thank you. I didn't know that came out already. I think photos are good. So if we can get photos with our articles, that can be helpful. Current outreach, email was a lot, but of course, a lot of the attendees got a specific Evite email, so it makes sense
Right.
that a lot of the attendees or
Well, and
survey
as
respondents said
as our
that.
email addresses grow, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
So that's kind of about what you might have expected, except I was surprised by local papers, and happily so.
Mhm. All right, so changing our Fitchburg Cultural Council group, and neither of you are active on Facebook though, right?
No, I disapprove of Facebook.
I understand.
Well, I do check in once in a while,
Mhm.
but I'm not a frequent flyer of
Yeah.
Facebook either.
Yeah. My children aren't on Facebook.
Yeah.
2 of them are in military intelligence and they don't have anything to do.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Everything must be kept private. I get
I
that.
guess.
But yeah, so our Facebook page, which is a business page, is where it's kind of like our website, except on Facebook. It's just called Fitchburg Cultural Council versus our Facebook group where people can interact. They can write their own posts, and
Mhm.
whenever an event is posted on there, there's you can go to the events tab and you can see all of the events that have ever been mentioned, whether they are cultural council funded events or they're just general community events. So it could be a good resource, but I posed the question if we should change the group name to something else like Arts and Culture in Fitchburg. And these are the responses. It looks like the majority of people said that they thought that we should change it. 56% said that we should change the name. 44%, or is that right?
No, that's
I
probably
wrote
true.
down that 8 out of 55 people said no, don't change it. So the graph and the text is Casey, and the actual response is what I worked on.
If I can interject here.
Hey, Casey,
I'm
you're
I'm looking
here.
at the circle here, though.
So if I have it in front of me, if I could interject, it is 56% do say that we should change it, but it's not in agreement of what we should change it to.
Yeah.
Where the discrepancy comes from. So most unanimous people think we should leave it the way it is. Most people think we should change it.
Okay.
Mm.
Casey, now that you're here, I'm going to send you the document that we are looking at. Because I added some stuff on there.
Oh, nice. Also, yes, hi, hello, how is everyone? It's good to see you.
Hi,
Hi,
Casey.
Casey.
Here in person.
Thanks for tuning in remotely.
Yeah, it's good to see what people joining remotely are looking at. I appreciate this. This is good.
I don't have like a I
I
don't have a chat option on here.
Is it did you send this document out in an email?
I did not. I can do that though.
Well, that just looks like a question we need to hone down a little bit because we don't really have enough information.
have a question.
Yeah.
About the Fitchburg Cultural Council name.
Mhm.
I didn't, I thought we were mandated
So
to change.
hold on, I will answer that in just a second.
Unless I misunderstood.
We are not mandated to it, but that's not the question that is being asked on here. This is just about our Facebook group.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, some people wrote that they were confused by not immediately clear what the goals of the group are, of cultural council are, or like another person said that they thought it was just for council members and not like for the community to utilize. So that's why I was thinking of separating it a little bit from Fitchburg Cultural Council group, which is a little bit redundant in my opinion, to something more broad like Fitchburg Arts and Culture. So anyone can
Yeah.
talk about.
I think that if you did that now, you'd lose anything you had invested in Fitchburg Cultural Council. To me, the thing to do would be to keep Fitchburg Cultural Council and then explain what it is and do more pushing for what it is and how you can use it.
We do respond as the Fitchburg Cultural Council page.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of like, they'll see all the posts that are made from Fitchburg Cultural Council. But then when people are searching, like, what kind of community groups do I want to join? They'll see, oh, like culture in Fitchburg, or, you know, like, why
Wouldn't
should I
be
get
under
involved?
Fitchburg Cultural Council if it was culture in Fitchburg? Wouldn't we show up?
Yeah,
I think we should put our money into our name. That's, unless the name was really bad, but it isn't, it's what we are. Are there other cultural councils who've taken other names?
yeah, but that's not the question that's being asked. This is about just like the Facebook group. It's just like discussion group. Like,
I think that would get more confusing.
I think
Yeah.
to Eileen's point, sorry,
oh,
Audrey.
sorry, no, go ahead.
Okay, I think to Eileen's point, putting the investment into what we already have is probably a good option. Additionally, there is already an FAC in Fitchburg that is arts and culture related. So if we went with those initials specifically, there would be a lot of confusion. So I don't recommend, if we change it, going with those specific initials.
I agree. I mean, obviously, we don't want to do anything that is redundant or like, you know, that is someone else's branding already, because that'll just be
Mhm.
confusing.
Yeah.
Okay. Casey, I'm emailing it to, I emailed it to everyone, but that's fine.
Thank you.
I don't know. I'm a big supporter of changing it. We could also ask the Facebook group how they feel about it. I also feel like that I'm one of the only people that are active in it, and I'm trying to increase engagement.
I think a question like that should be taken to the whole council. I don't think it's something the PR council should take upon itself. And
It
I'm
is-
very much against changing the name, so I'll put
And
my
we're not-
cards on the table.
We wouldn't be changing like Fitchburg Cultural Council. It would just be, we have the Fitchburg Cultural Council page where if anyone wants to get Fitchburg Cultural Council information, they go there. But then we have a discussion group, you know, where people discuss arts and culture related things. And like, there've been suggestions like last year that like that Facebook group should become more of a like a community hub. But if we run it, we can kind of highlight the Fitchburg Cultural Council funded events, but also connect people together of all the other amazing cool things that are happening in
Why can't
Fitchburg.
we do that under the Fitchburg Cultural Council? It seems sort of
The page, or you mean the group?
both, you know, under the Fitchburg, you know, it's, to me, we should want to attach the Fitchburg Cultural Council to
Mhm.
most of what we do. We might have different things that we do as the Fitchburg Cultural Council, but do you think that the name Fitchburg Cultural Council is chasing people away from?
No, I just think that calling the group that we are utilizing is repetitive, and also people do think that's all it is. They just think it's a place for the Fitchburg Cultural Council to post rather than the community to engage and put in posts of the things that they're doing.
Well, if you did something like named it, called it, arts and cultural community pages, and then explain that it is part of the Fitchburg Cultural Council.
Mhm.
So they don't think that it's,
Closed.
yeah, right. Or that they're being tricked or something, I think, we have to be proud of our name and use it.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. So, oh wait, Facebook is down right now. So I cannot show you the difference, but why don't I send you to the links? And I mean, Casey, I know that you can see it, but I would like to table this
Yeah, I think
until
so.
look at the difference between a page and a group, because I do think it's a big difference, and I don't think that it's erasing Fitchburg Cultural Council. I don't know.
Okay, so you'll send us a link and we can look at it and take it up at another meeting.
Yeah, it's in our signature. But yeah, it would be helpful if more people were involved and engaged in posting things. I spent like a good.
Well, we can talk about how to
yeah.
do that, aside from just changing the name, because that's very, superficial thing, I think. I think we can talk about other ways of getting people to respond.
That's a good point. Casey, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I agree with taking it up at a later date and allowing time to look at the difference between pages and groups, because as a Facebook user for 10 plus years, I currently still don't really understand the difference of what the current iteration is. But I do understand that groups are for the public to interact with and like share things with each other on, and pages are for the group, like us as a council, to put out information essentially.
Yeah.
I do think, because where did this question come from originally, Audrey? The question on the survey?
I wanted to pose the question.
Okay. I
Because
assume
Fitchburg Cultural Council page, where it doesn't say page on it. It's a Facebook page, Fitchburg Cultural Council. And then the group is called Fitchburg Cultural Council Group. So it's very similar.
okay. And if the confusion is coming from the general public not knowing where to post, or that they can post on our group?
I don't think so. I was just thinking that it would just be nice to make it more inclusive.
Yeah. I agree
yeah.
with that. I wonder if like no one specifically has brought up the name of it as a concern. No one publicly, or like no like members of the general public have, if no members of the general public have brought up the name as a concern, then I don't think it's really an issue.
Oh no, it's not an issue.
But yeah, like if a lot of people have said something in passing even here and there to you, then we should definitely consider it.
Okay, we spent about 40 minutes
Oh my
on this
gosh.
topic, maybe
Let's move on.
move on a bit.
Yes. So next page, it's just what days and times are you most likely to attend a seminar or municipal meeting that you're not already frequenting. Most people said Mondays from 5 to 8 p.m. and Thursdays 5 to 8 p.m. What days and times are you most likely to attend a local event for fun? Most people said Fridays 5 to 8 p.m. ish. And Saturdays, Saturday evenings. So that's something to keep in mind when we want to host the event, or when we want to host a seminar of some
That's
sort.
good information.
Audrey, can you move that? I can't see the screen at all. Okay, thank you.
So that you can see Casey's lovely face. Okay. And this is how do we outreach to communities that we are not, or suggestions of to reach out to people with disabilities, seniors, immigrant communities, BIPOC, teens, lower income communities and families. And then the next question was, are we reaching those communities with grant opportunities, council memberships, and or attendance in the programs we fund? If not, what can we or the organizations do to better outreach this community?
Well, the thing about this circle graph is it looks pretty even, you know,
Yeah.
but I want to know how many people answered this survey.
55, I believe.
55, that's not a really big number.
No.
No.
So I don't know what to say from that, but if you were just to look at this circle graph, you think, wow, we're doing a swell job. We're doing pretty even, you know, with everybody.
I agree, yeah. I mean, that might just be saying that we need to do more for when we do these input surveys and the grantee reception. How can we better do better outreach?
Yes, how can we
Maybe back
get
to
more people?
flyers in particular neighborhoods, possibly?
Mhm.
Door to door? Probably not.
Oh,
Does anyone want to do that?
It is fun.
well, I've had to do campaigning
Have you?
Mhm.
all over.
Yeah.
It's just, if you like to hike, if you like to hike, that's the job for you.
I mean, maybe next year we treat it kind of like a census of like going, if we do want to go door to door, like having people fill out the surveys.
I think we should consider it.
Yeah. He's very excited about this.
I love canvassing.
All right, well, think about that. Another thing to do, the local churches are very happy to have somebody come in and, you know, give a little talk, and then you could hand out, you know, if you'd please fill out the survey.
That's a good
We want to
idea.
know,
That's a
you know,
very
how
good
much you
idea.
know about us and what you'd like us to do.
So ask churches if we can,
Yeah,
during announcements, like speak up
Yeah.
and ask them to fill out surveys in the
yeah, I
back or
know.
something
My
like that.
church is wide open to that. That's Rollstone.
Mhm.
That would be
And-
very nice.
In fact, I had Susan Wadsworth talking at the service on Sunday.
About,
Well, we were having our show, we were having a show of 5 artists there.
oh,
So we had the women come in at 11 instead of 12, because that's when service let out. And Susan Wadsworth, who was the leader of this group, I think it was the Central Massachusetts Women's Art Caucus or
mhm.
something like that, got up and talked about it. And everybody was thrilled, you know, they love to get that stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
That was one of the suggestions of like outreaching is connecting with other cultural institutions already, like religious groups. Where is it? Where did I find that?
What about other arts groups? Do they know
Yeah.
about us? I
think
guess
they
so.
do.
Sure they do, yeah.
I mean, Art Stewards certainly knows about us.
I mean, even stuff that pre-existed, art stewards and stewardship programming. I think that we're pretty up on the up with other artist organizations and communities in North Central Mass.
Schools.
Yeah, that was a suggestion of getting involved with schools more. Either by, one person said, get involved with schools so children are aware at an early age. Another said something about helping out at after-school programs, and I didn't really know what that meant.
After school programs are running in the city of Fitchburg by mostly the teachers within that school.
Mhm.
But I'm sure if they were approached and needed more help, that they would I don't want to speak out of turn, but they might be interested.
There might be.
Yeah.
You know, the way we could do that is contact, some of the schools get grants from us. In fact, a whole bunch of them are gonna, in this coming. So we could go to the people that we've already worked with and ask how we can come in and make a presentation.
Mhm. Good
This is
idea.
a list of all these art teachers in the city.
That's
Oh.
wonderful.
That's helpful.
Yeah. Well, we could do that, you know. Hold on to that.
Do we want to do any sort of outreach of like emailing those for grant season of like, there's a grant that, you know, our grant deadline is October 15th.
I think it's a little late to let them know now, but maybe we should, when we organize for next year, think about what additional people we want to bring in.
Some of this involves going to the Fitchburg Public Schools Superintendent's office.
I
This
see.
had to be, this list had to be approved and given the okay for us to even
Receive.
mail these out.
Mm.
So I'd be happy, whenever we get to that point,
Mhm.
I would be happy to contact the superintendent's office and go
Okay.
over, discuss it. Because, reality, that superintendent is protecting the whole school system
Yeah.
as far, so there has to be an okay in place before we.
Well, it would probably be good to talk with him if you wanted to, maybe after the first of the year, about how we can make more teachers aware of the money that we have available for art in schools.
That's a good
You know,
idea. Yeah.
and then listen and see what he says. And then as we get closer to grant season, well, grant season opens up right at the beginning of school.
Mhm.
So we might want to send a missive out like at the end of, or not, the end of school isn't a great time either. Maybe shortly after you talk with.
Day after Christmas, maybe.
Well, shortly after you talk to the superintendent, maybe we can send a letter out to, see what he says about that. But
Yes.
send a letter out to teachers and say, we've got these grants and keep an eye open. They'll probably open again
Mhm.
next October.
Mhm.
It's just it's a protocol, really, is
Yeah.
what
Oh,
it
yeah.
is.
Oh, I understand.
And,
I worked for a school district once. I was a grant writer and the PR person for a school district. It was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, I know in the past we've tabled at schools before.
Why?
Well,
Maybe
I
too
think a
hard to
lot of
get
us
into?
were a little bit unsure of what we were doing there, but in reality, we should be trying to get like a student membership. It would be really neat if a student decided to head a grants proposal. Or even the teachers to have to know about us more, or just to bring awareness that
Well,
we're a
we had
resource.
this talk with Pam Hill, who's putting together this extravaganza. They're going to be asking for money for, but it's going to be a lot of schools. So I'm excited about that. I think that's one way, and we can probably use that as an example. You know, when we. I don't have all
Can
the.
I ask you a question? Is
Sure.
it just in Fitchburg or?
It's including Ashburnham, and it's a kind of regional, but it's primarily in Fitchburg. But
Okay.
they've reached out. I know they reached out to Ashburnham, and so we'll just have to wait and see. Or we could talk to Pam Hill again about it. But it was very exciting. It included a lot of schools,
Mhm.
and the students would be doing the stuff themselves, and be a number of so it'd be kind of a sub, what we're doing.
Mhm.
In the past, there have been 2 Fitchburg High School representatives on the council.
That's right. I do remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So it'd be great if
We'll
those
have to-
return
yeah.
either high school students or college students.
Yeah, these last couple of years have been such a
Yeah,
strange
such a
time.
rush.
That was- But we'll have as we recoup.
Yeah, right. All right. Okay, let's move on. Oh, there's also been a lot of talk about translators being really important, not just Spanish, but also, ASL. I know that we saw that Hmong and Creole, Haitian Creole and Portuguese. Was that the
That might be
four most
something.
popular?
A person who would really be on the ball there would be the superintendent of schools, because know they get the same, how do they handle these things?
Mhm.
That would be before you go, we'll all have to get together and think about what questions we're gonna ask. You were gonna ask.
It would be nice if our council was able to get like a translator on the books that like whenever we needed something translated from.
Well,
for
there's
a flyer,
probably an
something like that.
organization. I remember when I worked for the school district in Fitchburg, there was an organization in the area that you could go to and
Mhm.
get translators. And I'm sure there's something,
Well, there is,
pardon?
there is.
Yeah, that's what I would think. So we just have to know a little more about that.
And again, it goes back to the superintendent's office.
Mhm.
That's where the translation experts live,
Mhm.
so to speak.
Yes.
Okay,
So yeah, so we should have that at our fingertips. You're right.
Yeah.
All right.
and I know I know who it
Okay.
is, so.
You know who it is. Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's great.
Awesome.
So is that for this?
Yeah, that's that.
Okay,
Let's move
good.
on.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna skip to the winter market and other future events.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
curious as to what that is.
Claudia, have you and Tamar been working on that? On having a winter market?
I have not, I've discussed it briefly with her,
Mhm.
and that's all I can say to you. So there's been
Anything concrete, like dates that you're
No.
talking about, or
not yet.
is there anything that the PR committee or whoever can
Mm-mm.
do about promoting it?
I don't have anything. As
Okay.
a matter of fact, I may not be available to work on it,
Oh, okay,
so.
all right.
I don't know what it is.
I did discover when I was looking at different community events that are going on. I know that No Woco Pride is putting together a holiday market. So there will be a holiday market in the area.
Where's it gonna be?
I want to say they're hosting theirs in Leominster.
Leominster, okay.
Yeah.
Do you know
So-
when that's gonna happen?
I'd have to look at the calendar.
Okay.
In December. For some reason, my mind wants to say December 11th, but I don't know if I'm just making that up.
Okay, when we do get more concrete details nailed down for the winter fair, if we even do want to do it, I have a list of vendors that I would like to give to whoever or reach out to on behalf of whoever we put in charge of this.
I know that Tamar is certainly passionate about it and sort of heading it. Would you like to connect with Tamar about it?
Maybe it should
Yeah.
go on at the end of the full meeting on the 19th.
Yeah.
And we can discuss it rationally, whether we actually can do it. I don't even know what it is, but it seems like we're taking on a lot,
I know.
so.
Yeah.
So let's, why don't we table it and ask for a discussion at the October 19th meeting.
Okay.
Just a summary. I believe it's the idea is that it's a like a market for artists to sell products and stuff, sell their
That's what
artwork
I
and stuff
sort of
like that.
figured it was, but that's a big deal.
It is.
And to only have about 6 weeks to organize it, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
Tamar knows more about this than I do, but just,
Yeah,
it seems like a lot.
yeah. I'll be focusing on grant reviews and stuff like that, so.
Yes. Mhm.
The other thing is the time of year,
Mhm.
snowstorms,
Yeah.
ice. It's gonna have to be indoors.
Yes, of
Well,
course, yeah.
Yeah, part of the inspiration was to do it in one of the city hall like meeting rooms. Cause Joan, the mayor's assistant,
Great. They wanted to show up City Hall, right?
yeah.
With all the renovations. Yeah.
Let's see, I haven't seen the whole city hall, but I can't think of a meeting room that's big enough to do something like that. I mean, usually
it'd
you
be
need a
pretty
It
whole.
would
small.
probably be multiple rooms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
Would you
guessing
like
it
a
would be the
tour?
front.
huh?
Would you like a tour?
Sure.
I'll take you.
Okay, all right.
Wait, can you take a bunch of us on a tour? I would like a tour.
Been, but I would love a tour by Claudia.
Well, not that I can be the tour guide, but I know that we can
You can set it up.
to, you know,
Well, let's do that. Let's do that someday and have lunch.
all right.
That would be fun.
Okay. So this is very quick, new logo. We were reached out by Veronica. Apparently, our Fitchburg Cultural Council logo breaks copyright of altering the Mass Cultural Council logo. So Tamara's not here to talk about what she talked with the Cultural Council. I was hoping that she would be able to convince them that, like, you know, we have
It's a
our
nice,
logo.
it's a nice logo. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the intention of the logo is to make it, you know, show that it's part of the Mass Cultural Council, but apparently we're not supposed to do that. But in a similar vein where you asked about, do we, isn't it mandated that our name is Fitchburg Cultural Council? Apparently it's not. I believe Worcester is like Worcester Arts and Culture or something like that, or
Yeah.
I think Somerville has a slightly different name too, which that's a little bit over my head of why would, I mean, I don't want to separate from the Mass Cultural Council too much, but I don't know.
I believe
What our names
Leominster
are.
is Leominster Cultural Council.
Mhm.
I'm not 100%, but
Yeah, I believe
I
so.
believe so.
I met someone from the Leominster Cultural Council this weekend, and I believe so. Or maybe it's the Leominster Cultural Commission, but
Oh, maybe.
yeah, it's very similar for
Mhm.
sure. And I think I mentioned about our logo, and he said he didn't know that either, and theirs is also replicating the Mass Cultural Council logo.
So
too.
that's the big MCC, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just something to think about, how we want to approach it. There are
Maybe the
suggestions.
MCC should give us a stipend so that we can get an artist to do that.
That's an idea. If you want us to change it.
That's right.
No, I mean, it's not a bad idea at all. I think it's worth asking.
All right, well,
Okay.
Right on.
Yeah, Veronica also mentioned that like some communities will some councils will reach out to their community and ask for like submissions or something like that to get the community involved.
that's a good idea too.
Yeah. But yeah, so think about that. I am not planning on really rebranding until after the grants are in, because it's too much to do it right now.
I agree. I don't think we can address much of this stuff till after we've got the grants done
Yeah,
and the year-end report in and
yeah.
other stuff.
I mean, it might be helpful for when we tell tell applicants that their grants have been accepted and that they have to use our logo in their promotion of their programs. But that'll be like December.
No, probably January. January will be when we announce it.
Is it?
Yeah.
I know that like we do denials like immediately, but
Right,
And
but
those are few and far between
usually,
denial.
yeah, no, yeah. But I mean, we don't want to like send them two different logos.
well, we'll see. But I did look at the calendar, and it's really not until January that we send out the information, you know, who's got an award and what else they need to know.
Okay, so January is our timeline.
Yeah.
So everyone be thinking of creative ways of how we can put together a new logo.
Okay.
But do we have any PR approvals? Does anyone need anything to be approved?
No.
No. Okay, cool. 517, okay. Okay. Debriefs on these past events. Elaine, do you want to say anything about grant training?
I think that we should look at doing grant training virtually instead of in person.
Okay.
I think that will pull together a bigger, oh, that's where we were talking to Pam Hill at grant training. She showed up at grant training and was telling us all about a wonderful thing. So I think, you know, it's a good thing, but obviously only 2 people showed up. So,
Mhm.
and 2 people went online. So I think if we push it as an online event, we'd get a larger group.
Have you, I talked to one person who said that like they're planning on writing a grant, but then they needed someone else's help. And I was like, we already had our grant trainings. But have you heard from anyone that
No,
saying
I
that they need
haven't.
help?
I haven't. I put the word out that I would help. But in my view, it's a pretty easy grant to write, you know, and I think people are more afraid of it till they
Right.
start reading through it and say, oh, this isn't that bad, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of getting the information together. Do you think we're good? Like, we don't need another, do we need another grant training? I don't know. We don't have enough time for another one.
No, we really don't.
No. Okay. All right. Creative meet and greet. Anyone want to say anything about the creative meet and greet?
Yeah, how did that go? I was dead tired. I couldn't, so I just, didn't look like it was going to get started anytime soon. So how'd it go?
I thought it was a fantastic event.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How long did it last? Did people stick around?
Yeah. Ended at 7 p.m. Casey and I were still hanging out there talking to some people for a little while as we were like trying to break down, but was also chatting.
Yeah, we were there pretty late.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I think that that's something that we should be doing. I don't want to do another one till after Christmas, though. I'm thinking, and I would like to go to the River Styx because we actually have the opportunity for a program there
right.
with the co-owner telling us about her I thought very strange ideas for a bar, very strange ideas. But she brought in these other artists and they got into it. And it's a marvelous looking bar inside.
It is. They
I
have like
wouldn't have-
games and stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
too.
known that if I hadn't gone inside. But a lot of people have only, well, we've had a beer outside. I didn't know there was anything inside, you know.
Dogs and kids.
Dogs and kids, yeah.
Dogs and kids.
Yeah.
Outside, yeah. But inside is a different place. So I think that would be, and January is kind of a dull time anyway. So people are always looking. So why don't we talk about setting one like mid-January and hope there isn't a blizzard? We'll have a snow date. And we'll see how that turns out. And then we'll think about, I think, you know, if it's a thing to do, we should do it quarterly.
Mhm.
So we'll just have to think about, and I think as you pointed out, we shouldn't be doing it all the time in bars. I'm not entirely against that, but we can think of some other venues.
Well,
So,
Sima Park is.
Mm.
that's right.
available.
That's a nice, that is a
Yeah.
nice venue, Sima Park.
Yes,
They
yeah.
host a lot of like, is the Finnish Center also in Simon Park?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they host a lot of cultural events.
Well,
I
they
tried-
just had their big fair about 3 weeks ago. It's called the Tory.
I tried to go to it and there was no place to park.
I
It
got
was
there.
park. You were there, were you
Yeah.
there? I was sorry I missed it. My husband doesn't walk that well. We would have had to park a mile away and hike in. I would have had to carry him on my back. So we missed it this year.
It was very well done. And the Finnish population is just a warm group of people and trying to hang on to the
Their
Finnish
yeah,
culture.
Yeah,
And
I
the
see that
fair
there.
does very well.
I've been there a couple times for their panacook and breakfast. Holy smokes, that's wonderful. If
Yes.
ever, they have,
Yes,
I think, like one a month, and it's wonderful.
yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we're thinking maybe mid-January at River Styx, and then maybe in the spring, maybe
the
Simon
springs,
Park
Yeah,
or
Sima Park.
other
Or-
outdoor venues, maybe.
Well, Sima Park is kind of outdoors, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I mean, that might be a place for the summer. I don't know.
Or something.
Well, actually, Sima Park in the winter, it's cross-country
Cross-country
skiing.
skiing, yeah.
But no matter what time of the year, there's a big covering
Oh, event
with
tent.
picnic tables.
Oh.
Yes,
Oh.
so, if it's
Okay.
raining,
Yeah,
uh,
if,
you just continue with your gathering.
okay,
That's, okay, well,
That's good to know.
let's do the sticks and then we'll reevaluate each time, but Sima Park sounds like a great venue.
do we wanna look at dates for January? Or no, we gotta talk to River Six to see.
Yeah, I've
When
talked-
would be
I-
good?
I have to talk to them and come back. We've got plenty of time to come up with something in January,
Yeah,
but I will talk to them and, because they were, Janet was very anxious to do that. So
yeah.
they have the strangest drink list I ever saw. Some of it is beer and ice cream.
Yeah, which.
Anything goes.
I suppose you're right.
Cool. Casey, did you want to add anything?
Nope.
Okay. I do have a little bit of concern of how the pandemic will be, and I know we want to will it away, but we really don't know. We don't know what it'll be like in January, so that's something to keep in mind of in terms of being
Well,
an
we're
indoor
used to
place
canceling
or-
things now, so I've gotten very, very good at it. So I don't plan thinking it's that,
But we're also used to working around things. So we don't have to cancel it just because there's a pandemic. We can just do it a different way.
exactly.
So
So
maybe
I'm-
Summit Park would be a good backup, because if it's has the event tent there at all
Mhm.
times,
in January, I'm not so sure.
I wonder if
I think that they would show to a better, but I mean, heck, if you, I don't know.
no
Let's not,
Why
let's,
don't we look for a place that has outdoor heating,
heat lamps.
lamps. I'm like, what's the word for it? And then if we find a place that does that, that can be our backup.
River Styx does have heat lamps.
it's
right?
better inside though.
I mean,
I have
I
no
mean,
idea.
We really want to talk about the artwork. We don't want to
Well,
talk about. that.
Sima Park does have an enclosed
Like-
building.
Oh, okay.
If you've been to breakfast there,
I do. I have been to breakfast there.
but was it in the building?
Right.
Yeah, so there is a building.
But
yeah,
when you think about a meet and greet, well, I guess maybe we could do well, we'll think about Sima Park. Let's just get on with
yeah.
River Styx. And then we'll decide the best way. Because you can't drink there, right?
I don't know, because I know people have weddings there.
Okay.
Maybe they have to have I'm just saying, maybe they have to have a 1-day license in a case like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well,
not really
maybe
familiar.
we could do a
Mm.
breakfast, the Panacook breakfast, and,
Yeah.
we could organize something like that. But we'll see, and
Interesting.
at the next event, let's ask people what they're likely to show up for,
Mhm, yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll keep that in mind. We can ask Tamar to add this onto the council, the next meeting,
Yes.
to see if do you want to talk to Jackie about dates, and then we can talk about the options at the meeting?
Auctions.
Options. Yeah,
Option-
the
oh,
date
options,
options, yeah.
sorry. At the next meeting, yes, I'll try to do that before the next meeting.
Okay, Fitchburg Open Studios. Any?
What do we have
Just
an
a
overview?
debrief of Open Studios.
I could talk about my church. I was there for the full 2 days.
Mhm.
We had 4 artists the first day. One artist got hospitalized, not one of the ones who was there, but
no.
we had 5 artists.
Mhm.
One didn't show up and turned out she was hospitalized
Oh,
for-
before.
a kidney problem. I mean,
Yeah.
really serious.
Yeah.
So then we had 4 artists,
Mhm.
and they just loved it. It was very interesting art. They were feminist artists,
Mhm.
and that was interesting. One of them had 12 large canvases of pregnant women's bellies, emphasizing the stretch marks. There were different women. She interviewed them about their pregnancy. It's serious, you know, and she could tell you she had 6 of them out for display, and she told me about every single pregnancy. She also had, she was really a good artist, I thought. What she did was really very good. She had this thing that I would have loved for my kitchen, except I have a tiny kitchen. It was a square picture with all these little things inside. It looked like modern art. You got close to see it, and you could see they were sinks and dishwashers and toilet bowls that needed cleaning, and it was a woman's life.
Oh.
So, but it was beautiful and then she had paintings of her house with children's clothes all over the floor. And I said, well, tell me about yourself. She said, well, I was a sophomore in college, and I got pregnant, and I married my husband, but I had to drop out of school. So there was a point of view.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it was really very interesting. We had a good time. I enjoyed talking to the women. 3 of them were or had been teachers at Fitchburg State, and they were very big about. I guess many women in art feel they don't get the appreciation that male artists do. So this was their thing, and I thought it was very interesting.
Very nice. And you said that there was like 55 people who came?
Over 55 people. The last I count, 22 of them were from our congregation who rushed in right after church. And I think they did some selling, but they were very pleased. They said this was the biggest turnout that they'd had. They do this a lot, and they don't necessarily do it to sell their work. They do it to talk about their work and to get people on their mailing lists.
Mhm.
And I think they would love to do it again with us. The people in our church are older
Mhm.
and don't always get to they read about these things in the paper, but they don't get to them. So they were thrilled to have the art thing come to them and to be able to talk to artists. So doing something like that is something we should do more with churches. I think they're like a captive audience.
Yeah.
I particularly would like to do something with the Old Faith United, which is now a Latinx church. And I think it'd be fun to do something there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that says a lot about having your venue at one of the churches, because after the service, they were able to just be like, come back here.
Right, exactly.
And that's a really great way to get a ton of participants.
Well, our flagship, the Fitchburg Art Museum,
Mhm.
I went.
Oh, did you go to that?
Oh, I've been a member for years. And I have to say, this collection was the most unusual and spectacular, in my opinion, I've ever seen there.
This was the people who were showing art there. This is our FOS people.
Well, it's their collection. The current collection.
Oh, the current
okay.
exhibit. Yeah.
Yes. I could go down there every day and find something different to look at.
Oh, I'm a member too. I've been too busy to. Well, I spent last weekend in church, so
That's okay. Yeah. They'll probably be free on Thursday, because I know that they were doing first Thursdays of the
Yes.
summer, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue it.
Yes, I think
they were free on. They used to be free on Sunday too. Are they? They're
Yeah.
still doing that.
I think I'm not positive which days, but I know there is a free day.
Who was able to go visit artists outside of Fitchburg? I wasn't able to, because I had very limited.
Yeah. Where'd you go?
On Sunday, I did a few of the artists outside of Fitchburg. I went into Ashburnham. Sorry, just a second.
Did you go to the artist who was the weaver in Ashburnham?
No, I didn't see them. I went to Den's house and got to see it, like incredible, amazing. Just like his
Yeah.
environment is very
that,
cool.
That brought the little
little
doors,
Yeah.
at the creative meet and greet.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I gotta catch that, but I wasn't able to.
He does. I highly recommend like sitting him down and getting him to talk about his work sometime. It's fascinating, and he could talk for hours probably, and every piece is different. It's like, Claudia, you were just saying you could find something new every time you go to the museum. You could find something new in all of his works each time you like sit down to look at them, because they're all these constructed like tableaus essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, they're so gorgeous and very, very interesting.
Maybe that would be like a way to spike up the meet and greets too, to try to have a speaker or two at every meet and greet,
Oh,
so.
that's a good idea. Yeah. So I went there, and I went to Gardner, to the school studios that were there. There's the school street studios in Gardner.
Mhm.
I was only able to find one person's studio who was there on Sunday.
I think there was only one artist that signed up specifically with the school studios.
I had like 2 or 3 different on the map on the list that we had. But they might have just been doing it Saturday. So I saw I can't remember his name, and I feel terrible right now. Don't have it in front of me. But one person had a studio open in the School Street Studios. And then I also went to Creative Connections in Ashburnham, I believe.
Oh, that's a great place. I've been there.
Yes. Yeah. The owners are consistently, like year after year, great supporters of the council. They apply for grants every year. They just started offering classes out of their space. So I hope to see a grant from them this year. But that aside, they do great work for local artists. And they had a jewelry maker and a bookmaker there. So
and they just remodeled their studios. Did you go upstairs to the upstairs floor?
Yes, yeah, that's where they had the artists doing their open studios.
Oh, okay. I was so taken with the floor. This 100-year-old boards.
Yes.
And they
downstairs, yes. They had to redo all the floors upstairs, but it looks fantastic.
It's pine that you don't even find around anymore. I was so taken with the floor. I didn't even look at the artwork.
You should go back and check it out. The whole place is great, and they're a lovely couple.
Yes.
I've been known to buy jewelry there.
All right. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Probably.
It is 5:35, so I want to wrap it up. Does anyone have any PR things they want to talk about with Open Studios? Though most of it will probably come from Tamar after she talks to the artists to see how the turnout was for each of them.
Yeah, I'd love to get a wrap up just to understand it.
Yeah.
And I'm liking, after this discussion, I'm liking the idea of, for the meet and greets, to bring interesting artists or, in to speak at them.
Mhm.
I think that'd be a really great thing.
Yeah.
And since I'm writing the minutes, you're all going to hear about this.
Last things, FCC TV, we're taping next week. I know it's like soon after our previous one, but I have to expedite it so that we're not taping during the holidays. No one wants to do that. Claudia, will you be there next Tuesday? It'll be the school episode, so.
That's the one that goes from what time?
It's always 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
I don't know if I'd be able to stay till 7,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll come in for 5 and see where I'm at.
Okay, it'll be really helpful having you there because, we asked for 2 adults and like 2 or 3 kids. So there might be for each organization, but Appleweld hasn't gone back to me, and I think Sizer is pushing to another day.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cheryl Osgood sent us an email about switching days.
Yeah, so I think that's like 2 or 3 organizations or like 2 organizations and 3 grant programs. Is that right, Casey?
I think so, yeah.
And
One
then
of these? Yes.
Okay.
announcements, FCC funded events. Eileen, the events that Ashley sent us, those are all being covered by their FCC funded events now, right?
I'm sorry.
The public library, the hikes through history and,
Yes, they're FCC funded events.
great, so,
They changed the name. Actually, the thing of it was, since they had to make two of those events virtual, they had more money. So
yeah.
Ashley put it into more events.
Awesome. So we have hikes through history at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, October 19th, at the Fitchburg Public Library. And Saturday, October 23rd, Tales and Tales Magic Show, also at the Fitchburg Public Library at 2 p.m. November 1st at people, not sure if it's actually November 1st, but at some point the Santa mailbox will be put up in front of the US Post Office, and that program will begin for kids to write letters to Santa and to get return letters from him.
Have you, sorry, Audrey, just a question real quick. Were we thinking about reaching out to Sam to bring her on FCC TV for that?
Yes.
Cool, okay.
Yeah. This past weekend, I saw the New Players Theater Guild's
Oh,
Steel
yeah?
Magnolias. I've never been to a New Players Theater Guild, and I love it.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It's in that little church across the street from
Yes.
Faith United. Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, intimate theater, but like a real theater too. And the acting is phenomenal. They're great.
Oh, I'm gonna try to get to one.
Yeah, and Stratton Players also had their play as well. Mhm.
We went to that
Mhm.
yesterday.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was good.
letters from the front.
Yes.
It was a little bit more
Yeah,
theatrical than when we went in the spring.
Ancestors and artists.
This
yeah.
one's about the Civil War stories.
Yeah.
And they actually like had a scene, and like we're all like sitting there and
Oh.
stuff. And then afterwards, Sally like did like a walking tour of like 3 stones and the history of it.
So you saw that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. I think those are all the things. So go to our funded events. The next episode of FCC TV should air probably October 13th at 8 p.m. on FATV, which will be Laurelwood Garden Club and Fitchburg Public Library. And that's about it. It is 5:40. Does anyone else have anything else to say?
Nope.
All right, I call this meeting closed.